Hi, everyone. Welcome to this session about MBA over 30. I'm very excited. I think this is the first time we're having this kind of session about MBA over 30 and this topic. So this is a live YouTube session. I'll introduce myself and everything, and I'll tell you about the agenda. But I'm looking at the chat. It's a good idea. You can start sharing who you are and what you're interested in. If you're interested in full-time programs, part-time programs, are you over 30? Are you over 40? Is someone over 50? So it will help me navigate through my presentation and answer your questions. I will answer all the questions at the end. So, the more questions, and I can see the chat coming in. So thanks, guys. Started writing. Would love to know who you are. And that will help me navigate through the various slides. So the topic of the presentation, I was debating if to put here an old man's picture, old like me, or not. But basically, there's a lot of myths and a lot of uncertainty for people who are over 30 or have over amount of X years of experience. We'll discuss what X is. And I just wanted to clarify that. So actually, the real topic of the presentation is, am I too old for an MBA? Or what is the right MBA for me if I have more than X amount of years of experience, which we will discuss, or if I'm over 30 or over 35 or over 40. So that's the topic of this presentation. Yeah, and also tell me where you're from. So that's nice. Thanks in the chat. I'm looking. And let's start. So just a bit about myself. My name is Shimri Winters. I'm the head of the strategy team at ARINGO MBA Admissions Consulting. I'm a London Business School graduate. When I have an undergraduate in computer science. When I completed my MBA at London Business School, I was asked if I would like to be on the admissions interviewing committee, and I interviewed tens of candidates to London Business School. And I've been working at ARINGO for the past 8 years. So that's great. That's me. This is my only marketing slide. I work at ARINGO MBA Admissions Consulting. We're very good. We help candidates from all over the world get into top MBA programs. We have a dedicated senior executive MBA team that works with candidates above a certain age and X amount of years of experience, which we will discuss today. So check us out on aringo.com. That was my marketing slide. I'm very good at marketing. I can't write to you on the chat, but you can keep writing to me and I can see your comments. Again, check us out on aringo.com. That's it. That was my marketing slide. Let's start. So I just wanted to give you like 1 or 2 slides about what is an MBA, why do an MBA, and then we can chat about the various options that someone who's over 30 or over 40 or over X amount years of experience can actually do. So why do an MBA? Okay, well, a lot of people do it for a career switching reason. Okay, you're a lawyer and you would like, instead of accompanying business transactions from a legal perspective, you would like to lead business transactions, as a manager, or from a business perspective. You're an accountant and you want to move to venture capital. You're a programmer and want to move to program management or business development, or you want to be something like that. So we see many of those, and we call them career switchers. Another reason to do an MBA is you're actually very happy where you are, and you work in a bank, you're very happy about that, but you would like to move to the next level, and an MBA can help you accelerate your career. The third reason we see a lot of people doing is they want to be future entrepreneurs, and they don't exactly know what to do, how to do, when to do, who to do it with, etc. And obviously, a top-ranked MBA can help them do that. And I think a fourth reason of wanting to do an MBA, and actually we see this a lot with senior programs, is people that don't have to do an MBA. They have a good job, they're happy, they're making good money, and they could just stay in their current, either in the current career or in the current career path, wherever that's taking them. They don't need the MBA to find a job. But what they do want is to take some time off. We'll discuss, is it 1 year, 2 years, part-time, full-time? And They just want to invest in themselves in that 1 or 2 years, and then either stay in the same career path or be, as an accelerator, or go to career switching or future entrepreneurs. But I like to call it me time. It's investment time. And I see this more and more with senior candidates over 15 years of experience, over the age of 40, who are very successful. They could retire today or can keep working where they are today. They don't need the MBA. They want to do an MBA. Okay, so I'm still looking at the chat. We have a 45-year-old. That's the maximum today. I'm still looking. Maybe someone's will beat you. And this year I worked with a 56-year-old. So again, you're very young, and there's lots of options. This is like my only general slide, and again, then we're going to dig into the actual agenda of today. Is what is an MBA? And again, if an MBA is an option to do a career switching or accelerator or entrepreneurship, it means it's a very wide degree with a lot of different topics, and you take different courses. So you also learn microeconomics and also entrepreneurship and also marketing and also innovation, but also a lot of soft skills about how to present yourself and what do you want to be when you grow up. So it's a very general and wide degree, obviously all in the connection of business. A lot of people ask me, should I do a law degree or a some kind of political science degree or public administration degree or MBA? The answer is, I don't know. You need to figure out what's good for you. I can tell you that a master's degree in something usually is something that goes deep in one specific industry with one specific specialization. So you do an LLM, a law master's, and you specialize in corporate law between different governments, or you do an accounting degree and you specialize in something very specific. And usually MBA degrees, a lot of times they don't have any specializations, and you just do a very general degree with, you can take whichever emphasizes that you want. So that's my only general slide. Yes, there is a minimum to do an MBA of at least 3 years. Okay, now we'll discuss the maximums, etc. So without further ado, let's talk about the agenda of this meeting. And at the end of these slides, I'm going to just answer all the questions on the chat on YouTube. So please keep asking questions. And the more questions you ask, I'll try and answer some of them during the slides and all of them at the end. So this is kind of my agenda. And I'm going to talk mainly about 3 very different types of programs. And we're going to dig into each of them. And the first one is an MBA, what I call a classic, full-time, top-ranked business school. Okay, I'm only discussing top-ranked schools in this presentation. MBA, and we'll discuss that. We'll also discuss what's the right age and maybe what the maximum age is to enroll in a full-time MBA program. And I also added a few slides of why is there a cap and why can't you apply at a certain age or maybe at a certain amount of years of experience to a full-time MBA. I also want to the next topic will be the Executive MBA, the EMBA. I have so many people calling me. I had one this morning that said, I want to talk about the executive program in MIT. And I was like, are we talking about an executive course, which MIT have a lot, executive education courses? Are we talking about a part-time executive MBA? Are we talking about a full-time senior program? MIT also have one like that called Sloan Fellows. We'll discuss that. And this guy didn't actually know. So I sent him to do research. And in the end, he was 31, but the best program for him was the regular full-time MBA. So we'll discuss all the various options. And again, this is our agenda. Let's start with, I am assuming what isn't relevant for some of you, which is the regular full-time MBA program. Let's start with that. And what is a full-time MBA program? So first, let's discuss where are the top-ranked schools. And I think all of you know 95% of the top schools, right? So you've all watched the Hollywood movies where the very successful son of the hero or the hero is debating between Harvard and Stanford. and Northwestern and Columbia and NYU and Cornell, etc., etc. So I think the top schools in the US are very good. The top universities are very good in nearly everything. So I know nothing about geography, and I'm sure Harvard are very good at that. I know nothing about journalism, and I'm sure NYU are good at journalism. So the top universities are just good at everything. They have a global brand. I think most of us know them. And they're also very, very good in business school. A lot of people tell me, I just want an Ivy League school. That's a term that's less common in business school and in MBA, because usually the term I prefer is just top 10. There are about 20 top 10 schools in the US because there are a lot of rankings, which we might discuss a bit later, spoiler. In Europe, most of the schools are actually very little. And the reason is they only teach business, and most of them only have master degrees. So for example, London Business School is a very small school, only a couple hundred students each year, versus NYU in New York, which has 20,000 students in 100 different topics. INSEAD France, again, very small school, etc. I think maybe the two schools that maybe have this kind of brand of non-business are Oxford and Cambridge. But it doesn't mean that the other European schools aren't good. They're excellent. Okay, so how do you choose a top MBA program? And again, we're just talking about like the full regular MBA, and so we'll discuss what are the ages, etc. Well, first of all, to think where do you want to be when you grow up, and are you interested from a location wise of living in the US? Are you interested in living in Europe? Where would you like to work? Are you interested in working in banking, in consulting, in a tech industry? And if you can figure these things out, then I think you can figure out which schools you would like to apply to. In my eyes, I like to look at three things, which are the location of the school, because the curriculum is quite similar, the ranking of the school, again, the brand and the ranking, and maybe the cost. If I get a full scholarship in one school, I might not, it might be more viable for me than another school. The cost is very expensive, okay? And again, this topic is more about the more senior programs, but I just wanted to mention that the full-time MBA in the US is 2 years. The tuition is around $75,000 a year times 2, plus living expenses, easily $230,000, $40,000, $50,000 expenses for a full-time 2-year regular MBA in the US. And in Europe, it might be half because the programs are a bit shorter. How do people finance this? Well, with loans, and there are lots of scholarships. Okay, so all this was the full-time MBA. Again, the salaries are around 160K starting salary in the US before bonuses. Again, this is a YouTube presentation, so it's live. I'm trying to talk really quickly to cover a lot, but you can obviously pause and go back on whatever you want. And also salaries in Europe are pretty high, and everything's fine for full-time MBA. Okay, so MBAs are great. And if you're 27, 28 with 4 or 5 years of experience and you want a career shift or to be an accelerator or what was the third one? On future entrepreneur, plus some me time. Yes, this is definitely a great opportunity for you. When does this start being a bit, when should you start thinking about maybe a different option? So actually the first slide is a bit wrong. MBA programs are not, and I again emphasize, are not worried about your age. You can be 33, you can be 37. What MBA programs are looking at is the amount of time you've worked professionally post your undergraduate degree. So, for example, if you went to college at 18 and you graduated when you were 22, at 30, and if you've worked ever since, at 32, they're not worried about you being 32, but they do have in mind that you have 10 years or more already of full-time experience. And again, I've kind of put here more than 10 years, and 12 is kind of a red flag, starts being a problem for the full-time MBA programs, and I will prove this to you in the next slide. I'll explain why this might be a problem. And yes, I understand on your plus side, I bring a diverse experience. I bring more experience to class. I can share my experiences. You should want me. You shouldn't disqualify me for being overqualified, but I'll explain to you soon why they usually do. Another thing is age, okay? So again, if you're 33, 34, it's not a red flag if you have less than 12 years of experience, but it's starting to be worrying. Now, again, there are some careers and some education paths that take longer than others. So for example, if you have a master's degree, if you learned medicine, and if you're a doctor, maybe you learned for 7 years to be a doctor, and then you went to work somewhere for 6 years, and you're already 40. Well, my math wasn't very good here, but in that case, you're fine. Even though you're 40, you might only have 6 years of full-time work experience. So again, it's less the age, it's more the years of experience. I do have a lot of older military candidates. They are a bit strange, actually. Sometimes their degree is at the end of their military experience. So they might go to the military for 8 years or 10 years, then do a degree, an undergraduate degree, and only then want to do an MBA. And that's fine, again. So they might be 35, but they don't have that much time of work experience. So these things are a bit worrying when you have a bit more than 10, 11, 12 years of work experience. If you're making too much money, that also might be a bit of an issue for the schools. So again, you're outside of this MBA pattern they're looking for. You're making $500,000 a year. Schools might start asking, so why do you want an MBA? Okay, you're the CEO of Vodafone. It's pretty senior. Why are you looking for a full-time regular MBA? Okay, you're going to study with 28-year-olds with 4 years of experience. Why are you doing this? So schools would like to know exactly who you are and do you fit their pattern. It's not that they're not looking for diversity, they are, but still they want you kind of to fit the pattern. And again, I'll explain in the next slide in a very simple way why. Being unemployable, also kind of an issue. When I mean unemployable, I mean, let's say your dream is to be a NASA astronaut. Okay, and that's the only career you want. You're not going to settle for a McKinsey consultant. Well, MBAs have a problem with that because NASA don't always come and recruit from MBA programs. Let's say your desire is to be a very good programmer. Well, maybe computer science degree is a better master's for you and a better fit than an MBA. So again, they kind of want you to fit in their pattern of age, years of experience, kind of money, and seniority, maybe unemployable to be employable. And one last thing, I just want you to remember, and again, a lot of people like register with me and start working and then kind of only realize in the middle of the process that the full-time MBA is full-time. You don't work throughout the degree. So in the US, it's a 2-year degree. You definitely work in the summer. You do a summer internship, but you don't work throughout the degree. So this is something very important. Of course, there's other factors which are nothing to do with age and experience. Well, if you don't have a good profile, okay, if your GMAT isn't good, or if you come from a very overrepresented background and your story is just very simple, okay, like me, I'm just a programmer, a male, my GMAT wasn't very high, okay, so my profile isn't very strong. I should be careful when I want to register to London Business School. Or if you don't know how to write a very appealing application. So all of these are regular things you should be aware of. Okay, so this was the full-time MBA degree. Now I'm going to kind of try and get some interaction from you. And I want to try and explain to you why all the things I showed in the previous slide, if you're a bit too old, if you're making a bit too much money, if you're a bit too senior, if you're in some kind of industry that usually MBAs aren't getting recruited from, why is this an issue for the top MBA program? So this is a little exercise for you. Let's say you're the dean of a top-ranked business school. I actually had here a top-ranked business school yesterday, but I decided I won't mention any names. What is the single most important thing to you? So again, you're the dean. You just got 10,000 applications in. And you need to think, what's the single thing you have in your mind? What are you interested in? And this is for the chat. You can start writing. We'll ignore this in the Q&A. What do you think the dean of a very big business school is interested in? I'll wait a bit. Again, you're the dean of a top business school. What are you interested in? You're talking to your board of directors. They're only discussing one thing. Okay, we have some answers here. So you're looking for leadership and employability. That's nice. Making sure students get employed. Okay. Reputation. I actually, I like that. So these are good things, and they all sum up to kind of the same thing. So I'm going to start giving you some ideas, and you tell me what you think is interesting. So diversity, getting really great professors, brand of the school, money. Maybe I want to get great donors. Okay, so all these are less important. There's one thing the dean of a very important business school is interested in, one. And if this thing happens well, he'll get a fat bonus. If this thing doesn't happen very well, he'll get fired. One thing. Good. There's already two correct answers. I'm trying not to say them. Okay, so the one thing is, I'll give you another 5 seconds. I think you can start understanding the answers. Okay, ranking. I don't know why that happened again, but the word ranking came in. Okay, so if you're a dean, of course, all the things you mentioned before, which we'll discuss, diversity, and employability, etc., will come into the ranking. But remember, our topic is, why do the full-time MBA programs care about your age and about your employability and about all that? And now let's look what goes into the ranking, and I think that will explain very well why they have this, set. I know it's a bit like of these horses which stand like this and can only see straight, and that's why they have these patterns. And if you come and you're 43 with 20 years of experience, you won't be able to get into Harvard full-time MBA. Okay, and it's because of what the dean is interested in. So I copied here the Financial Times ranking categories. And the Financial Times is actually the one that focuses the least on what I'm going to show you. So you'll see the US rankings are even more tough in the same way. So I took all the categories. What I did was I put them in groups. Okay, so let's look at the yellow. The yellow are kind of soft categories. Okay, so they went to alumni and they asked them, have your goals been achieved? What you were aiming for, has this been achieved? Would you recommend the school? Okay, do you recommend the career? So these are like soft things, very important ones, I think, when you choose a business school. But they did a survey. Then they checked the pink here. So they checked, okay, let's check the faculty. How many PhDs are they in the faculty? Again, the higher the number, the higher the ranking. How many articles did they publish? Then they checked internationalism. Okay, so how many international students are there? How many international faculty are they? How many languages do your students speak? So things about internationalism. In green, I put diversity, specifically here of women, but there's one or two other categories that we can add to diversity. And the blue one is money, of course. So how many of the students, what is the percentage of the students that were of the alumni, the graduates who found a job after 3 months, how much money did they make, what was their salary increase, etc. So let's look at the various weight that there is on each of these topics, and I think this will help you make the point and will help clarify why business schools have these patterns and they're afraid to give admission to someone beyond the pattern. So if I look at this internationalism, and again, the Financial Times ranking gives a very big weight to internationalism. And if you follow the Financial Times MBA ranking, you will see that a school like INSEAD or London Business School are in the top places, or HEC Paris, because these schools have a 90% international student body, right? So 90% of the students in INSEAD are not French. 90% of the students at London Business School are not British. This is a problem because, in Columbia or Harvard or Wharton or Stanford, around 65% are American. Okay, so still, that's why INSEAD or London will get a very high ranking on Financial Times. But still, if you sum up the numbers here, you can see this is only 20% of the ranking. So even if I have 101% international students, I'll only get 20 points out of 100. Let's look at another category. These soft categories: have your goals been achieved? Would you recommend the school, etc.? This is very important to understand how the school works, etc. But it's only giving you 12 points or 12% in the ranking. So it's important, but less. Diversity, don't make me laugh. Okay, so the Financial Times is giving 5% if there's a lot of women in class. So well done. I think Yale had the 40% women last year of students and a high percent of faculty who were women. Fantastic. But this will only give Yale or a school like that 5 points or 5% in the ranking. So I think you can see where this is going to. Articles published. Again, the Financial Times gives a very high percentage or high number of points for academics. But still, even if you have Nobel Prize winners, I had two in my year at London Business School, and they've all had many articles published, and they all have PhDs, they'll only get up to 15% or 15 points. Where are the points? Yes, it's like in the G-Man. Where are the points hiding? The points are hiding in the salaries and in the employability, right? So whoever wrote employability was kind of right. So if you find the salary within 3 months, that's only around 3% because the schools usually give the same number. But we'll check what your salary was. And if it's a high salary, that will give higher points to the business school. But we won't just check the salary. We'll also check the salary increase, okay? And I think this is a very important key for someone very senior. So if you make $500,000 a year right now, and you want to go to Wharton, and they say, wow, he's super employable, and he's super nice, and everybody's going to grab him at the end of his MBA, but his salary is going to decrease. And it's not going to increase ×2 or ×3 like the other students. Well, that's actually going to ruin our rankings. Why would I hire him? Okay. Or on the other side, if you work for a very low salary and you want to continue working for a very low salary, that might also be a little problem. Or if you're not interested in your career progress because you're already the CEO and there isn't the next level of career progress, you're the CEO, that might be an issue for the schools because it's going to hurt them in the ranking. So this, I was just trying to show you why the schools have this pattern of someone who is at the beginning of their middle, the post-MBA first job will be some kind of junior middle management. Okay, and I'll give you an example at EY. I think you start at or Deloitte or a big accounting firm. You start as an analyst or maybe a junior analyst and an analyst and a senior analyst, or maybe in a consulting firm, then a junior consultant, senior consultant, principal, whatever, partner. And again, though, the MBAs will have in their mind that post-MBA, you go in as a consultant. So if you're 1 or 2 levels below this, it's fine. If you're today a consultant, that's okay as well. If you're a senior principal or if you're a partner, this is a huge problem. Okay, and let's look at the companies who came to recruit. This is from London Business School from 2 years ago. And I think you'll find a very, very similar brands and similar companies coming to recruit from all top MBA programs. And there's the consulting firms and the tech firms and the finance firms and the general industry firms. There's all firms here from Burger King to eBay. Let's find a nice techie. Amazon, let's say that's tech. Let's say finance, okay. There's a bank here, Deutsche Bank, and Bain is a consultant, right? So there's all the different types of firms here, but they all come to recruit at a certain position and at a certain salary level. And that certain position is someone that had 4 to 6 to 8 years of experience pre-MBA. And the certain salary is the salaries I showed before. So these companies, when they come with these set jobs to campus, aren't looking for a 50-year-old with 20 years of experience. Again, I didn't say he can't find a job. I just said he won't go to one of these set jobs. So again, it's kind of a wheel why the MBAs are looking for this pattern and the companies are looking for a pattern, and the MBAs, the top MBAs will, find it'll be very difficult for them to recruit someone with too much experience, someone too old, or someone that's, too senior. So that was a very long talk about why the regular MBA programs have an issue going out of their pattern and recruiting someone, a bit too senior or a bit too with too many years of experience. Okay, so we said, generally speaking, okay, of course, there's some exceptions. If you have more than 10 and definitely more than 12 years of full-time experience, you should probably not be looking at full-time MBA programs. Luckily, there's a couple of options. So there's the full-time MBA programs. Why isn't there a full-time MBA program for senior candidates? Luckily, there is. So there is such a thing. There aren't many schools that offer this, and I have here a list of the top 5 schools that offer a 1-year senior MBA equivalent program, a full-time senior MBA program. And this is designed for kind of people who are already in this mid-management and in a mid-career level. And it can be people even in a higher career level. I've had very senior VPs manage thousands of people apply to these programs. And I've had quite junior people who only manage a team of 3 but have 12 or 14 years of experience. Okay, so I've had both sides of this kind of seniority, but the common was that they had a lot of years of experience. And these programs are designed for people with at least 8 years of experience, or some of them 10, and there's no maximum. And again, I worked this year with a 56-year-old. Last year, I had a 51-year-old on these programs. And the reason was they wanted to take the me time. They had the money, they had a good profession, they don't need an MBA to find a job. They wanted to take some me time, learn, network, have a diverse network, learn from case studies from different industries, and just take some time off before they go back to their business or venture. So like I said, these are dedicated for seniors. They're very similar curricular to MBA programs. They're usually 1 year, and they're full-time. You don't work throughout these degrees. And again, this is on YouTube, so you can stop, copy these 5 programs. I'll just mention them. So London Business School have an amazing program called the Sloan Masters. It's like an MBA for very senior candidates. It starts in January. It's a bit strange in that way. Super senior people, amazing program. There's no specialization. You can come from tech, from finance, from wherever you want. Stanford also have a 1-year program. Sometimes it's referred to as a 1-year MBA, but it's called AMc&x. That's the name of the program. And again, the rest of the programs I think will start around June. 1-year programs, and you're in Stanford, Silicon Valley, amazing. MIT have a program, 1-year program, minimum 10 years of experience, minimum. So again, if you're 33 and you have 9.5 years, you need to decide, am I applying quickly to the full-time MBA? And I'll be a bit old and a bit senior, but they'll still consider me. Maybe I wait a bit and I apply to the more senior program. Okay, again, it's not necessarily better. The one isn't a junior and a senior in terms of one is less good and one is better. Depends what's best for you. But at some stage, you just won't be able to apply to the full-time, and then you can to the regular full-time, then you need to apply to these senior programs. There's 2 other programs. One is in USC in LA, great program, great university, a lot of tech, entrepreneurship, 1-year program. And in Seattle, there's the Foster Business School, part of the Washington University, and they have a program called GEMBA, Global Executive MBA. It's a full-time 1-year program. It was actually paused this year. They've restructured it. Amazing. Lots of tech in Seattle. Obviously, Amazon and Microsoft are headquartered there, as well as Boeing and Starbucks. So that's a great option as well. And these are at least 5 good options. Again, there's different things which I'll try and show, but these are 5 good full-time options. Okay, you can keep asking questions on the blog, on the chat, and I'll answer them. I will actually address something here. Someone asked about Europe. So are European programs any different than US ones? I have to admit that the European programs are a bit easier with the age, but they're not any easier with the years of experience. So if you're 34 or 35 with 9, maybe 10 years of experience, yes, you can still apply to European programs. If you pass the 12 years of full-time experience, you're just wasting your time. okay, with the full-time MBA program. So this was the full-time senior programs. Again, these programs cost a lot of money, but they're 1 year. Okay, so they cost between $100,000 and $140,000 per year tuition plus expenses. A lot of the applicants are sponsored. Depends which program exactly. I remember in the Seattle program, most of the applicants are sponsored. At Stanford, most of the applicants aren't sponsored. So it really depends which program. Sponsored means your workplace will pay for you and then you'll go back to the workplace. Very important, there aren't many scholarships. Unlike the full-time MBA program, which they all have scholarships, and it might be the same business school. Okay, so let's look at MIT or London Business School or Stanford that have many, many, many scholarships and fellowships and financial need base and diversity base and million types of scholarships. These senior programs don't have many. And I think the logic is obvious. You're senior. You've made it. Okay. If we have scholarship money, we'll fund the 26-year-old and the 27-year-old and not you. Okay. And if you don't have money because you worked maybe in a country or in an industry that just doesn't reward you very highly, you can take a loan, unlike the 26 or 27-year-old. And you have savings, unlike the 26 or 27-year-old. So that's the logic. Again, I have many calls of people saying, I really would like to learn in these full-time senior programs, but I want 100% scholarship. That's just not going to happen. Okay, not in the top schools. So you need to think, can you afford this program? And we come to a touchy subject. So in the full-time MBA, I didn't even go over it. It's obvious that you need a GMAT. In these executive MBA, the full-time executive senior MBAs, I need to think about a name for them. In theory, you need a GMAT or a GRE. There's another test called executive assessment. It's very similar to the GMAT. It's conducted by the same company, and it's called EA, executive assessment. And it's a 90-minute test. All the programs I showed you before, here, at least the 5 programs on this slide, accept the GMAT, the GRE, the executive assessment test, all those programs. Some of them were offering this year, due to COVID, some kind of GMAT waiver on the base-to-base, on a case-to-case, or for everyone, depends exactly which school. I can tell you that except Stanford, all the other schools did offer some kind of GMAT waiver. No one knows what will happen in 2023 and 2024. If you want to apply to all the programs, I suggest you try and take the GMAT or the EA, which might be a bit easier because, again, it's a shorter exam. But if this is a huge issue, that's fine as well. There might be some of these again, talk to me after the presentation, and there might be some of these programs that offer some kind of GMAT waiver or exemption from the exam completely or on a case-to-case basis. So there might be some waivers here. That's, I think, optimistic. How do you choose between these programs? Again, it's very, very individual. But in my eyes, the location, again, the curriculum is very, very similar. Okay. But do you want to live? And again, the older you get, reality says that you probably, or you might have a family, you might have a partner, you might have kids. Okay, where you guys live, this is a full-time program, I'm assuming you all want to live together, is a big issue. Do you want to live on the West Coast, East Coast, in London, in Switzerland? This is a big issue. Another big issue is if you're a senior and you work 15 hours a day, 6 days a week, you might not have time for a GMAT or even an EA. So maybe if one of the schools gives a waiver, that's a big deal for you. And maybe not. Maybe you just have time to invest that. One other thing, like I said, LBS, London Business School, starts in January. The other programs start in June. And again, maybe you have your thoughts about the school brand. Maybe you've never heard of MIT. Maybe you have. Although the 5 schools I showed you are all top 20 MBA programs. By the way, when you look at the brand, it's very hard to find a ranking to these dedicated programs for seniors. But I would look at the regular MBA ranking, okay? Because if MIT regular MBA is a good rank, it's ranked high, and it is, well, this will actually influence the stigma and the ranking and the branding of the senior program of the MIT Sloan Fellows. So don't look for rankings for these 5 programs. It's only 5. just look at the brand of the school as a whole. Class profile, you can look at that. Some of these programs, the class is a bit older, some is a bit younger, etc. Like I said, family considerations, as my wife keeps telling me, happy wife, happy life. I really believe in that. So check those out. So that's it. Those are the senior full-time programs. Okay, I can see lots of questions on the chat. I'll just address all of them. We're at our last topic. I think in about 10 minutes, we'll finish the presentation. And then I'm going to address all the questions in the chat. So stay tuned, because in this last topic, Executive MBA, there's actually hiding a few other things. I'll get to them on my last slide. Online MBA, part-time MBA, hybrid MBA, lots of things which are not regular full-time MBA and are not regular senior one-year full-time programs. So whatever isn't full-time. And here, again, the sky is, I was going to say sky's the limit, but it just, the differences between the programs vary tremendously. Okay, and there's so many different programs which target different kind of candidates, and they cost a different tuition rate, and there's just so many different programs. You're going to need to kind of look at them one by one. So let me just start with a few definitions. An executive MBA is, first of all, a part-time MBA. Okay, so unlike a regular full-time MBA, so from now on, when we say MBA, that means a regular full-time MBA. When we say senior full-time MBA, that means a one-year senior full-time MBA. EMBA, or executive MBA, in other words, is a part-time MBA. This means you work throughout the degree, period. By the way, if you don't have a job right now, if you're unemployed, this is less good. Schools will actually ask you, they'll say, this degree is designated for people who work. If you don't work, that's a worry for us. Why? Well, they have their patterns and they have their worries, and I can explain that later if you want. But this is actually an issue for them. If you're an entrepreneur, this is an issue. They want to see very stable people who work at a big company and get a salary, and preferably that the company is paying for the executive MBA. But they just want to see stability. It's designated for mid-career professionals. Every school has a different minimum. I've seen programs with a minimum of 3 years. I've seen programs minimum of 10 years. So you have to check out the different programs. The curriculum is very, very similar to full-time MBAs. Okay, you'll learn microeconomics and strategy and accounting and entrepreneurship and the soft skills and the whatever. But you will be doing this in a different model. You won't be studying 9 to 5, 5 days a week. You'll be studying once a week, twice a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month. It depends. So many different options. And obviously you work through the degree. And some of the degrees, a lot of the European degrees, for example, are really built for commuters. And again, I studied at London Business School, and at the executive MBA of my year, there were people from the States, people from Russia, Bahrain. I'm trying to think of the furthest. I think New York is quite far away, but also Bahrain is quite far for a flight every 2 weeks. So you have to keep this in mind. If you want to study at Berkeley, but you live in Kansas, and the degree is every Thursday and Friday, and you get to San Francisco every 2 weeks. Twice a week. So I think this is something you need to think about. Popular MBA programs, again, there are so many. It's hard for me to go through them. If you, again, check out our website, ARINGO.com, you'll see a very nice menu called EMBA, and I think the first or the second sub-menu will say top executive MBA programs. So you'll see lots, and you'll see them in the US and in Europe, etc. Funnily enough, or not funny enough, it's the same programs that you saw in the full-time MBA. So if you saw MIT or Columbia or NYU or Yale or Northwestern, Kellogg or Chicago Booth, these are the top programs at the executive MBAs as well. Same with London Business School, INSEAD, HEC, IESE, Oxford, Cambridge in Europe. Same in Asia. Again, most of the top business schools will offer executive MBAs, and they will be ranked very well. What can we consider? Okay, wait. I'll just tell you that now I'm showing you another subset of executive MBAs. There's a trend of something called global executive MBAs. This is amazing. It's very similar curriculum to the Executive MBA, which is a very similar curriculum to the full-time MBA. But the structure of these programs is a bit different. It will sometimes be a couple of universities which are combining together the program, or a university that has some kind of agreement with another university, or maybe another campus somewhere. And it will give more of a global experience, an international experience. But again, the curriculum is very similar. This will be usually structured for commuters, and a lot of the classes might be in different countries and even different continents. I was going to say areas of the world, different continents. For example, the first example here, EMBA Global, is a joint program for London Business School, Columbia University, and Hong Kong University. And you actually get a degree from these programs, and you do a couple of days each month on a different campus in a different continent. Same with the Triumph program, which is a NYU, London School of Economics, and HEC Paris. So again, you have London, Paris, New York, and there's some other global MBA programs here. Again, for this sake of this discussion, I'm just going to call them EMBA programs, but yes, there are also global EMBA programs. So the tuition is very, very expensive. Again, I started here at 100K. I'm sure there's EMBA programs that cost a tenth of this. Depends, where you're located and local executive MBAs. But I only looked at the top 10 executive MBA programs. I'm not sure which is the most expensive one. I think Columbia last year that I looked was around 210, but maybe a bit more, $1,000 for the degree. Very expensive. I'm going to jump to my, keep in mind, scholarships, very, very few. Until last year at London Business School, there was one scholarship each year for executive MBAs for one woman. I actually worked with two women last year, and they together with another woman, won the scholarship together. So London Business School decided to split up. This wasn't a good thing, because instead of getting, I think it was 50% tuition, each of them got a third of 50% tuition. So they're very, I think there's one more executive MBA scholarship these days at London Business School. So wow, there's two, unlike their full-time MBA scholarships where there's hundreds. So there's very, very few scholarships. It costs a lot of money. Again, I didn't do percentages. I'm just going to lie and say 50% of the students are sponsored by their employer. Again, I don't know this percentage, and I'm sure it changes from school to school, but there is a high percentage of students who are sponsored. This can be partially sponsored, fully sponsored, but it's very important that the employer gives you the time, especially if the program is on Thursdays and Fridays, or is a global MBA which requires travel, or even just an MBA which is far away. And the schools will be looking at this. They will check that you have the time to do the program. One or two other things to consider. You do not get a student visa, okay? So again, not the call I had this morning about MIT, but a call I had yesterday. And this guy was from India and said, I want to do an executive MBA at Wharton. I said, fantastic. Do you have an American visa? And he said, yeah, I'm a tourist. I went to the States last month. I said, great, but you need to live in the States to go to an executive MBA program in the US, because it's not designed for commuters from India. You won't be able to travel every Thursday from Delhi to, I think he was looking at the San Francisco campus of Wharton Executive MBA. So it does not give you a student visa. You have to live where you're living today, or get a visa from your employer to go and, for example, live in London to study at London Business School, or you have to take into consideration the commuting. So if you're commuting, take into consideration a business school that works well for commuting. Some of the programs do not require GMAT or an EA. This is amazing news. It's mainly some of the US programs. I never understand why. I think it's quite random why MIT has a GMAT waiver and Chicago Booth doesn't, why Kellogg has a GMAT waiver and Columbia doesn't, but this is life. So some just, it's not even a GMAT waiver. It's not a requirement to have a GMAT for some of these schools. So take that into consideration. All the European schools do require a GMAT or an EA, but INSEAD, HEC Paris, Triumph, IESE have an internal test. So this can also act as a GMAT waiver or equivalent. So there's different options to get a GMAT waiver if you're interested. Yes, all the top MBAs have executive MBAs, except of Harvard and Stanford. So if you call me after this conversation, please don't say, and I want a Harvard Executive MBA, because there's no such thing. Harvard have executive courses, a course of a week or 2 or 4 or 6, and they have a full-time MBA. But if you're 40 years old, you don't have an option of a full-time degree or a business degree at Harvard. This is not such an option. And one word about ranking, there are executive MBA rankings. Although when I look at the school's ranking, I usually look at the full-time MBA ranking, because a full-time MBA is much bigger. There's many more students, there's many more alumni from the full-time, and that will be my, my network afterwards. And I think the brand of the school is what's important. So I'm less concerned if MIT executive MBA is ranked 4 or 5, but if the full-time MBA is ranked 3 in most of the rankings, yeah, that's a good school. Okay, I just put here, like, so we're nearly there. 5 minutes, we're finishing, and then I'll ask questions. You can ask questions. I'll answer them. I put here, like, there's other types of kind of MBAs which are part-time. Okay, so if you're a senior, you can definitely go to, and go to an executive MBA. You might want to check out other options as well. By the way, these options are usually not dedicated for senior candidates, but they will accept anyone. So there's a part-time MBA. They're very flexible. They might accept a 26-year-old and a 56-year-old. And their only minimum years of experience is 2 or 3, and maybe the only requirement is that you have a job throughout the MBA, and of course a GMAT, and that you pay the fee, etc. So there's like a part-time MBA. It's actually quite similar to the executive MBA in terms of the curriculum and in terms of the structure, but it's less, the candidates will be probably a bit more junior. There's also a fully employed MBA. That's a part-time MBA. What about the online MBAs? Yeah, sure. There's online MBAs. Again, usually not in the top 10 MBA programs that I showed you before. Like, the top places don't have online degrees, but there are some good places like Michigan Ross, Arizona, UNC, IE Madrid that offer online degrees. I've seen another, I don't know, nice buzzword, hybrid MBA. Basically, it's an online MBA where you come to campus once or twice or 3 times. Yeah, I mean, you need to consider what's good for you. The structure of these programs, what's the cost, what's the cost in terms of time and effort, not just money. What's the return on investment in the end, and what's your reason of doing an MBA? Are you really looking for a career transformation? Well, probably the full-time MBA is more for you. Are you looking to network? Are you looking for the brand? Are you just looking for this me time? Again, there's lots of reasons, and you need to are you looking to move to another country? And you need to decide what are the reasons, and then you can decide what type of program fits for you. And again, I put here lots of options. Okay, I think we're nearly there. So how do you choose one of these part-time programs? Again, the executive MBAs, the part-time programs. Again, they're very different from each other. I know it sounds strange, but Oxford Executive MBA is once a month, and London Business School Executive MBA is every 2 weeks. It's a huge difference. One's in London, one's in Oxford. If you're flying from Bahrain, there's an airport in London, but there isn't an international airport in Oxford. Well, Heathrow is quite nearby, but for the sake of the discussion, let's say there isn't. What's the ranking and the brand of the school? Of course, like the prerequisites, that's important. And the cost of the program. And again, do you want to learn something very specific that you feel might only be in one MBA and not in another? I hope you noticed I kind of didn't try and compare between the curriculums, even within full-time MBA at Wharton versus full-time MBA at INSEAD, and between an executive MBA at McCombs Austin versus a part-time MBA at NYU. The reason is the curriculum is very, very similar. You learn a wide array of business skills, and then you have lots of electives. So the curriculum is very similar. And again, I try not to look at that, and I look kind of at the other metrics of the school, like cost and location and brand. Okay, so that was it. I tried to explain like what are the options for an MBA after the age of 30. I think there's very important, if you're watching this session and thinking about an MBA, is to do your research. This takes a long time. It takes a long time to apply to school. Again, especially if you need to now take the GMAT, that might take a couple of months to prepare. If English is not your first language, or you didn't take an undergraduate degree in English, this you might need a proficiency test. And then the application itself is quite long. I mean, some schools have 3, 4, 5 essays. You probably need 2 recommendations for each school, different recommendations. Your resume needs to be in MBA language, etc. This just takes time. Don't wait till the last minute. If you're serious, I mean, contact me. I'll show you my details. Another marketing slide. Okay, we're finished. How does ARINGO help? With everything from a chances assessment and school selection till the actual work. We help with the actual application and the entire application, from strategy to interviews and scholarships. So here are my contact details. Please talk to me if you would like a review about your profile, but please send me your CV as well, so I kind of know who I'm talking to before we actually talk. Okay, so that was me. I'm going to leave you my details on the screen. As promised, 1 hour later, I'm going to look at all the questions from the beginning of the session and try and answer everything. Okay, so thanks very much. If you don't have any questions, you can drop off. Thank you. I enjoyed this a lot. I spoke a lot, but I enjoyed it a lot. So now I'm going to actually look at all the questions from the beginning. And I'm going to find the first one. Okay, and I think what's nice is I'm going to try and answer the questions that I think I addressed in the presentation, especially the ones I didn't, but maybe I'll just remind you a bit. So someone's asking me, I'm 34. Okay, VS, I'm 34. Am I too old? Right, and I think I gave you the answer. Again, I don't really care about your age. I would like to understand how many years of experience you have. I'm just going to bet that you have around 10, 11 years of experience, which means you're really, really at the high end of a full-time MBA, a regular MBA. You can probably still apply this year to an international top-ranked MBA, but you might want to start considering something else, either the senior full-time MBAs or maybe an executive MBA. Okay, so, and if you're in India, it might be in India, right? Because that makes sense. Okay, I'm going to the next question. I can't put them on the screen, but GMAT Club will help me in a couple of seconds, I hope. And we're in Sid G's question. He's 45 years old, and he wants to do an MBA. And I think, again, we addressed this. So Sid, you're not too old. You can definitely do a full-time senior program, like we said, in one of the places that I showed, like Stanford or MIT or London or USC or Foster, and some other places as well. Talk to me kind of offline. Here's my email, and we can. I'll try and help you there. Again, if someone has 12 years of experience, again, I'm going to repeat this. It's great, and you can get into the top executive MBA program. All top executive MBA programs love people with 12 years of experience, like they love people with 8 or 18. Again, I need to see the experience and see where you live, etc. And you can probably aim for the senior 1-year programs. And again, I try to make this black and white. It's not. There are some schools, not in the top 10, who will consider a 50-year-old for the full-time MBA. And there are some executive programs, not in the top 10, that will consider someone with 3 years of experience. Okay, so there are exceptions, but there aren't a lot of exceptions in the top 10 schools. Okay, so I just want to say that. Okay, I love veterans. I love military candidates. We actually work with a lot. And again, not sure what's best for you. Well, in your case, I'm assuming you were in the military most of your life. I'm assuming you want a full-time MBA to do a transition. Again, if you have around 8 years of experience, just go, or even up to 10, just go for the regular full-time MBAs. You should be fine. But if it's very important for you to do maybe 1 year in the US, you could probably look at the senior programs as well. So you're what I call borderline and can apply to everything, but definitely I would consider a full-time program, so either the senior one or the regular MBAs. Here's a very good degree, a very good example of Praveen, who's 32 and only, yes, with my nice air quotes, has 7 years of experience. And this shows you exactly that age is not an issue. Okay, because There's some 32-year-olds with 10 years of experience, and with 11, and with 7. So you have 7 years of experience, and you're targeting top 15 schools in the US. In terms of the age, no problem at all. In terms of your experience, no problem at all. I had last year a 37-year-old get into Kellogg and into Wharton. Okay, and the way he did it, or the way we did it, was that he actually had 2 master degrees, and he kind of started his professional life at 28. Okay, and he had just he was on the very high end of everything, but again, he had less than 10 years of experience, or definitely less than 12, and he really explained why he wanted a full-time MBA program for a career transition, and that worked. Okay, next question again, Pooja. So, very similar questions. I have 10 years of experience. Can I get into a full-time MBA in the UK or the US? The answer is yes. Okay, so the answer is definitely there are a lot of programs, or all the programs will look at your application if you have 10 years of experience, or even 10 and a half or 11. You are getting to the borderline of like the senior programs who really don't like candidates with more than 12. But it's good. Okay, so that was Pooja, and I'm continuing. Again, GMAT Club are helping us to show some of the questions, but we can't show all of them, and sorry in advance, I can't show them. Again, for people with 10 years of experience, full-time MBA in the US, is it a better option than 2-year MBA in the US? Well, again, it's a very, very individualistic question. Generally speaking, let's talk about a different scenario. Let's talk about someone with 8 years. Should he wait 3 more years and go to a senior program, or should he go now to a full-time program? Okay. And again, the answer is individual. Okay. If you're looking for a career transformation, if you want the summer internship, if you're not very senior today, if you want to get into one of the post-MBA regular, air quotes, jobs, okay, McKinsey consultant and Amazon product manager are standard jobs. Look at the salaries, look at the job. So maybe a regular 2-year full-time program is suited for you. If you feel that you're a bit more senior than that, if you feel that 1 year is enough, if you feel that you don't need the internship, maybe you can find a job even without the MBA. So maybe a 1-year program is for you. Again, you just have to get, we're talking about very theoretical things. You just have to get accepted to these programs. And again, remember that to get into a top 10 regular MBA program like Stanford is very, very difficult. Okay, they have a 6% acceptance rate. We didn't discuss this, but for example, executive part-time MBAs have a higher acceptance rate. Why? Because they have less demand. Because commuters can't fly to San Francisco every week. So there's reasons for this as well. And we also need to look at your profile and actually see where we think you can get into. Okay, because a full-time regular MBA will require a very high GMAT, and a senior program might require a lower GMAT because they look more at your work experience. So again, it's a very individual question. Sorry, I'm throwing out a lot of information. I don't know. Watch me in half the speed if it's too much information. Again, I love another Army question. So thanks, Shiv. Great that you can see it on the screen. Great, 20 years of experience. Okay, I love that. And you have an IIT degree. Fantastic. So again, you can't go to a regular MBA, okay, in the US. It's just not going to happen. They won't look at someone so senior and so old. Although you don't have any business and civilian experience, you just have way, way too much experience for a regular full-time top MBA. Again, you can go to maybe a lower ranked MBA, but not to a top MBA. And you can't go to an executive MBA in the US because I'm assuming you come from India, and I'm assuming you don't have a green card or US citizenship. So you can't go and live in New York just on your own visa because you need the student visa. So in this case, for you, the option is probably a full-time senior program. You're a classic for a full-time senior program. If the program starts in June and you only finished Army in 2024, you need to apply in September 23. Talk to me in June 23, and we can discuss your options. Okay, Taylor, 5 years of experience, fantastic. You're 30, amazing. So you're exactly what MBAs are looking for. I don't know what your career goal is because it got cut off, but I'm assuming you're asking, should you kind of do a career transformation, etc. And if the answer is yes, well, then the answer is go for full-time MBA, regular MBA, that's for you. Again, 20, this is, Korean, I really like your question and I receive this a lot. So you're 29, but you're an overachiever. Okay, you're really bad, so don't do that again. You're an overachiever, you're very senior, you have a lot of direct reports. Again, I don't know if you should go for full-time or executive MBA. This is something maybe we can discuss offline and you can reach out. It really depends if you want to continue working throughout your degree or not. If you want to continue working, maybe your company will sponsor you, I don't know, and you live somewhere which is within a commute to a top-ranked executive MBA, and you're happy with your career and want to continue in this company and in this industry, well, then maybe the executive MBA is for you. You might be very senior, but you might just hate what you do, and you just want to get out of there, and you want to actually do a complete transition into consulting, and then be an entrepreneur. And in that case, you might want to leave everything and go for a full-time MBA. So actually, scratch what I said before about contacting me. Do some soul searching and soul thinking, and think what you want to do when you grow up, and then talk to me, right? And then we can try and decide together what the best program is for you. Because again, you need to consider that. Hello from Indonesia. Hello. Thank you, Randy. If I'm okay, next question from Nando. If I'm invited to an interview at a top 10 MBA program like Ross with 10 years of experience, first of all, amazing. Does this mean they're not concerned about your age and professional experience anymore? This is a whole other topic about interviews, but let me try and answer this very shortly. Yes, you apply to business school, and then business schools will look any of the degrees, executive, full-time, senior, full-time, will look at your profile, and let's say 50% get an interview, which obviously varies from school to school. In that 50% elimination, taking 50% out of the game, they will look at your profile. So if, for example, our the previous question with 20 years of experience from the Army applies to Michigan Ross, most likely he will not get an interview at Ross. So he's been already screened out and filtered, and you have been selected. So they've definitely looked at your 10 years of experience, and they said, that's okay. Now you have the interview. In the interview, there's 3 outcomes. Oh, you know what? Let's say the interview has 3 grades, 1, 2, and 3. Let's say 1 is amazing. Take this candidate, give him a scholarship. Okay, so in this case, let's say you got the interview, you've been admitted. But let's think of number 3, which is this candidate is terrible. Okay, don't give him admissions. Well, then you've been disqualified. But if the answer is 2, which is this candidate's okay, but I'm a bit worried about A, B, C, and A might be his age, B might be his seniority, and then the admissions committee will take this into account. So interviews are the final stage of getting into a top MBA program, all of them, executive, full-time, senior full-time. But still, after the interview, if you didn't get an amazing grade like 1 or a terrible grade like 3, and again, each school has their own grading system, they might go back to your application and take other considerations into account, like age, visa, gender, which country you come from, GMAT scores, etc. Okay, you're a couple. First of all, I love couples, and I work with about 6 or 7 couples every year. And you have a lot of international travel experience. I love this. And you make too much money. How do you approach this? I don't know. First of all, maybe talk to me privately. Again, I think a lot of our chat viewers might be a bit envy. Second of all, again, I don't know what too much money means. And again, I don't know what your average salary is and where you're aiming to get to. And don't take what I said as black and white. It's okay to earn more than the average and apply to business school. But what I said was, if you're earning way, way, way too much, $1 million a year with a salary, not even a bonus, your salary, I think an MBA program will ask, well, why are you applying here? And McKinsey are coming to recruit afterwards. You're not going to work there. So it's more of an employable thing, not just a salary. But again, talk to me personally, and we can think about that after your GMAT. Okay, so another question from Pooja. I'm 30. I'm actually working in the US already, so I'm assuming you have a US visa or citizenship or something. And you have some international experience. And I'm already 30 by the time I'm applying for an MBA. No problem at all, Pooja. All good. I had a 37-year-old. All good. Okay, I've never done statistics. Around 30% of our full-time MBAs are around 30 to 33. Okay, that's okay. It's not an age thing, but again, if you have more than 10 or 11 or God forbid 12 years of experience, that's the problem. Next. So I'm talking very quick because I just want to try and answer all the questions. Okay, but sorry if I'm talking too quick. I'm from India, 7 years of experience. Okay, can I apply for full-time MBA schools? Yes, 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 yes. Is it a concern that you'll be 30 soon? No, no, no. All good. Okay. Someone asked about, do they still get a full experience if they work during the MBA for 20 hours a week? So actually, I've seen this in the UK. I think a student visa actually gives you to work 20 hours a week, but maybe you have some kind of deal with your company. Basically, generally speaking, not visa-wise, but school-wise, in a full-time MBA, especially a 2-year MBA, in the first year, you're not supposed to work. Okay, not because someone's going to check and salary or visa or some kind of other issue. It's just it's a full-time experience. And when I say full-time, it's 5 days a week, a lot of hours a day experience. You're not going to be sitting in lectures all day. An MBA is a very, very hands-on degree. There's a lot of interactions, a lot of class discussions, a lot of clubs. And I think you're going to be missing out if you don't do this experience in the full way. If you don't do a full-time MBA in the full way, if you really want to work throughout the degree, go and do an executive MBA because it's designed for that. Again, I'm reading out the questions fast because we cover this. If I have 10 years of experience and 32, again, you're what we call borderline. Anil, okay, so if you have a GMAT already and you want to apply this year, yes, you can probably apply to full-time MBAs. If you don't have a GMAT and it's going to take another year or two, you might be getting on the high end of regular full-time MBAs. Again, for Europe, you're still okay. US, you're starting to be really borderline. And again, Europe, you only maybe have another year or two. And therefore, either go for this year or senior programs or some kind of part-time program. Okay, I'm jumping all your guesses of reputation versus brand and diversity. And thank you for being interactive. That was fun. And I'm already in a question by Onkar. So hi, can I get into a full-time MBA when I'm 34 in Europe? And again, the answer is yes, but I need to see your profile and I need to understand that you have less than 12 years of experience and a high GMAT, and you have a very good reason of why you want a full-time MBA. Okay, thank you, Vipin, for your question. A person having 4 months of work experience as a manager at EY, so 6 months and 6 years in total, but you have 4 months of, I suppose, managerial experience, and you're managing a team of 8. Is this a red flag? This seems to me like an amazing flag. I don't know, green, 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 go, go, go. So you have 6 years of experience. You started now a managerial position. That's fine. I just wanted to mention that there are candidates that don't manage people. And there's some sectors like a lawyer that just doesn't manage a lot of people, okay? Lawyers or um, engineers. Okay, so some questions don't have a lot of people, so that's absolutely fine. And they don't have a lot of managerial experience, and that's fine. So don't worry about that too much. Okay. Right. Next question here. How do we see? Something popped to my screen, and sorry. A lot of the questions are kind of similar, so I'm going to rush through them. So if you've asked, I'm 34, can I apply to a full-time degree? I'm kind of skipping that because I think you know the answer. If you have less than 12 years of experience, yes. If not, it's starting to be an issue. But here's a very good question from Happy Group. These senior full-time programs that you're referring to sponsor student visas? Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so and they definitely sponsor student visas. So in the US, you get the F1 visa or J1, depends if you get a scholarship or not. For you and your partner will get an F2 visa, your kids, everything's fine. Post MBA, yes, you have full access to career services. The career services tends to be more customized and one-on-one for these dedicated the senior programs. And definitely, if you find a job with Amazon post your senior program, they will sponsor your visa. So yes, yes, and yes. Okay, turning 35, but looking kind of quite senior. And again, when I look at your profile, I don't think your age is a problem, but I actually think your number of years of experience is starting to be a bit of an issue for a top 10 MBA. And again, Tim, like there are other programs, and I know one or two, and talk to me separately, that will take any candidate, any age for a regular MBA, but usually the top MBA programs, again, like the real top ones, will look. So again, I don't know what you're aiming for. We'll probably look for someone a bit younger. So I think, again, talk to me separately, go into a GMAT, and then we can decide which program we can apply to. Okay, what's the upper limit for work experience? I said 12 is probably the upper limit. A good question, Asim. And sorry, I kind of, again, there's so much information, so I'm sometimes afraid of I'm sure I've thrown out too much stuff. GMAT scores are very different in regular MBA programs, executive MBAs, and senior executive MBA programs. We actually have on the ARINGO team one of the former admission executives from MIT Sloan Fellows from the senior program at the full-time program at MIT. And she told me the average GMAT score for the senior 1 year full program is 660. And the average GMAT score for the regular 2 year full-time MBA program is 730. So there's a very, very big difference between the different average GMAT scores. The reason is the more senior program you go to and the more senior you are, they will look more at your work experience and less at the GMAT. Same goes with executive MBAs. The average GMATs are much, much, much lower than regular MBA programs. Okay, you're more senior, you work full time, you don't have now 10 months to work on your GMAT. Sid asked me about 1 year programs in Germany. Again, I think we have aside the top German programs. Check out aringo.com or send me an email and I'll send you the list. Generally speaking, again, if you're 45, that's a bit of a problem for regular MBAs, but some, like for example, the German programs, some of them are more flexible about that. Okay, so it's not a no, Sid, just send me an email and I'll help you out. Okay, Vipin, I think we answered this question. Is the red flag? And I said no. Okay, Nitish asked, what's the chance of getting a scholarship in these programs? So Nitish, again, I'm assuming you're asking in the senior full-time MBA, senior full programs, full-time MBA programs, or in the executive full-time MBA programs. And their answer is very, very little. Okay, so the top full-time senior programs or the top executive MBA programs have very little scholarships from various reasons. One is a lot of the candidates are sponsored. Second, a lot of the candidates are senior, they have money. And third, if the school has money, he usually spends it on the full-time younger candidates. So there are very, very few scholarships. Okay, I literally wouldn't count on the scholarship. Again, in the top programs, the lower ranking you go, maybe you'll be a more appealing candidate, and then maybe you can get a scholarship. Okay, so we discussed Sanil's question, Sonal, sorry, having 10 years of experience. Again, you're borderline, so you need to kind of decide which program to go for. You're probably heading towards the 1 year program. College GPA, Yeah, of course, college GPA matters. And again, I didn't kind of, there was a lot of material here. So I didn't know what to go into, and I didn't show you what business schools look at when you apply to business school. I would say your GPA is maybe 10 points out of 100 when applying to a full-time MBA. When applying to a non-full-time MBA, for example, Executive MBA, it's closer to non-existent than to 10%. Okay, so I don't want to say it's zero, but it's very, very, very few points on what your GPA was if you have 12 years of experience since and good experience. By the way, I really thank you. Lots of great questions. Okay, so thank you so much. I'm trying to run through them, not to miss anyone, but great questions. Okay, can I talk more about 1-year programs versus 2-year programs? So this is regarding 2-year regular MBA. So again, if you have less than 12 years of experience, you still might be able to go to a 1-year program. This has nothing to do with seniority. It's just to do with the programs. All the programs in Europe are either 1 to 1.5 years. Okay, so INSEAD, IE Madrid, Oxford, Cambridge are 1-year programs. HEC Paris, ES Barcelona, London Business School are 1.5 years, versus 98% of the top ranked MBA programs in the US, which are 2 years. What are the differences? Check out my YouTube video, European versus US programs, and you'll see. But the big difference is the summer internship, where in the 2-year program you have an internship, and in the 1 year usually you don't, or you have it after the 1 year. And that's a big difference. A big difference is, again, more me time or less me time. The 1-year programs are very tight, very intense. You have to be you have to know in advance kind of where you want to get at the end of the degree. And the 2 years have a bit more time. Okay, someone's asking, I won't mention your name, can we hide our experience if we have more than 10 years? Well, yeah, you can hide your experience. You can lie. You can say you're the CEO of Coca-Cola. Um, but there's a facts check when you get into schools. And again, it really depends what you're trying to hide. So there's some things you can hide. And again, it's not to lie, right? It's just not to say everything. So let's say I've had candidates, you know what, even young candidates that had 8 internships. And I said, you know what, this isn't important. You are 1 week in an intern at Burger King. It's less important. Okay. So yes, there's some things that you don't have to mention on your CV. Again, if you're 40 and you're trying to hide 15 years of experience, and okay, and the way you hide it is you show a big gap in your CV, that's not good as well. Okay, because business schools don't like big gaps in your CV. So let's try and be honest and just find the best program for you. If someone is 33 and has 5 years of experience, fantastic. Like we said, that's a great example of being a bit older, but having the right amount of years of experience for full-time MBA, a regular full-time. Okay, Sud here is asking 16 years of experience. I want to do an MBA related to strategy. Great. I strongly suggest not going for regular MBA programs because they will look suspiciously at your 16 years of experience, and therefore try and go for one of the senior programs or for part-time MBA. Okay. Pooja, I think I answered your question, but let me just look at it again. 10 years of experience in HR, that's good. Interested in 1 year full-time MBA program, that's fantastic. You can get admissions. I remember your question. You can get admissions. I worked with a great Indian HR female candidate last year who wanted to go to the US for 1 year. She had 8 or 9 years of experience, and we went for Cornell 1-year MBA program, which was very good because she was also in the hospitality industry, and they're very good at that. I worked with a 31-year-old with 8 years of experience this year who got into USC IBER, the 1-year MBA at USC for seniors. Yeah, you have options. Okay, talk to me later. I'll send you a list, or look at our site, 1-year MBAs. You'll see. Okay, so I can see where you were repeating the questions because I wasn't answering them. Vipin, I hope I answered you. Rohit is asking, I'm 32, 8 years. Can I apply to INSEAD? Fantastic, apply to INSEAD. No problem at all. You're exactly on what they're looking for. 8 years of experience. Fantastic. They don't care about your age. Pierre, you have 36. You don't have 36 years of experience. You are 36. You have 14 years of experience. The full-time MBA programs, you can definitely get into some, but probably not into the top 10 MBA programs. Okay, so I won't mention the name, but I was speaking to a program before who's still recruiting for 2022 and even giving GMAT waivers. But this is a program who's ranked around 50 and is based in Boston. Okay, so if you want to study in Boston in a top 50 program, this is a regular program, you can. But if you want to study in Boston at Harvard, no, you're probably a bit too old with 14 years of experience. And therefore, if you want to be in Boston but only in a top school, you might want to look at MIT Sloan Fellows, which is a senior program. This is a YouTube session, so just go back and I showed some senior programs here and you can buzz through those. So Luke or Lux or whatever your name is, I'm sorry, Lux14. Yes, you're right. You're 32 with 8 years of experience. You're kind of in the middle of everything. And I agree. I speak to many 32-year-olds with just under 10 years, and it's not just that you're in the middle of everything. You're starting to get too senior for the full-time MBA. So it's kind of, if you go for regular full-time MBA, it's kind of this year or next year. And if not, then you can go for the senior programs or the executive MBA. So I think that's your decision. Do I want to study next year? And if yes, do I want to study in Europe or in the US? And if yes, take the GMAT and talk to me quickly. But if not, then we have these other options as well. Okay. Scotter 11. Yeah. So how do employers look at the executive MBA? It's a very good question, and it's just very individual. So remember, 50% of the students are sponsored. They're anyway working, so they, and I'm assuming you're looking at a executive MBA and asking how would a new employer look at it, and it's all how you play. And MBA programs and business schools are platforms. It's all what you make out of it, how you go to career services and ask them to help you get a good job at the end. Employers are fine with executive MBAs, but again, it's all about what you do. And again, remember, if you're working full time, you have less time to look for a job and you have less time to interact with career services, etc. on Wednesdays because your executive MBA is on Thursdays. So that's the main problem for executive MBAs. But again, it's fine. And I've seen a lot of executive MBAs put in their CV MBA or in LinkedIn MBA. Okay, we're nearly at the end. So we'll just answer another 4 or 5 questions. Happy Roop, thank you for your question. Canada, 9 years of experience. Look on ARINGO.com. We have all the top Canadian schools. With 9 years of experience, you can apply to all of them. McGill, Rotman, Sauder, Scholle. Just apply to all of them. You're absolutely fine. Again, if you have the other criteria of work experience, GMAT, etc. Pooja, thank you as well. Sia2806. I love that nickname. 10 years of experience. Again, we've answered it. You can get into MBA programs, but you need to kind of get into them now. Okay. We didn't discuss master programs. Well, I kind of had one slide about it at the beginning. I have to admit that these masters that you're mentioning, or maybe the master in analytics, is usually a master for people with less work experience, usually like up to 2 or 3 years of experience, like a master in management degree, which is a pre-MBA master's. So you need to look at each master's. For example, master in finance, some schools say it's for beginners, for people with less experience, and some are looking for people with 10 years of experience or even more. So master's degrees are very different than MBAs, but you should be fine with 10 years. And again, you should be fine with MBA programs as well. So if you look at the London Business School, for example, they have an MBA, which you can apply to, and they have a master in finance, which you can apply to. You can't apply to both. Schools won't allow that. So you need to decide what you're looking for. I can give you a few tips. Master in finance. You want to continue in finance. You want to take a lot of finance courses and very advanced ones, and you want to find a job in finance. MBA, very wide array of degree courses and skill sets and various career options, which won't necessarily be the finance investor that you might be looking for. So again, it really depends what you're looking for, which degree, and again, which career options. A lot more questions. Very good in these questions. Okay, Shiv, thanks. Good. Okay. So this is a very good question, Shiv. Shiv is asking about the Tech MBA, so NYU, Stern, and Cornell Tech, IE Madrid, and Foster, Washington. All four have Tech MBA programs. There's one more to come. There's some masters which are very similar. They're usually one-year programs, but they're kind of similar to the full-time MBAs. And if you have more than 12 years of experience, this is getting a bit of a worry. And the main reason is that the recruiting companies that come to these tech MBAs, for example, Amazon, recruit many of these for product management roles. And if you're too senior, that might be an issue for them. But if you're bang on with what they're looking for, up to 10 or 12, and again, they might be a bit open to receiving someone with 15 years of experience. But it's not an age thing. If you're too senior and you have 25 years of experience, they won't look at you. Who has internal exams? So again, SIA 2806. This really depends. Sorry, I'm in one question different than the one on the GMAT Club announced. So I'm just reading from SIA 2806. Which colleges have their own internal exams? Okay, so not a GMAT. And again, if it's an executive MBA, then INSEAD, HEC, Triumph, IE Madrid for full-time and part-time MBA, ISAD de Barcelona for executive MBA. In the States, I can't remember anyone that has an internal in the top 10 internal exam. In the EMBA, you either have a waiver or not. And in the other degrees, you just need a GMAT. Okay, and with this fancy green question now, will teach us afterwards. How did he do this green one? Very nice. I love the color. I'm 29, 8 years of experience, digital marketing. That's great. GMAT 680, fantastic. All good. Talk to me. Let's apply to top MBA programs, maybe in round one. I don't know if in this year, in last round, we can discuss that. But bang on, 8 years of experience is great. Okay, guys, even 9 and 10 years of experience. Don't worry about this. It's fine. It's on the high side, but it's within what the school is looking for. More than 10, a bit of an orange flag, but still what the school is okay with. More than 12, a bit of a red flag. Okay, but okay, 8 years, absolutely fine. Okay, I think questions aren't finishing, so we will continue a bit longer. I can go all night, it's fine. Okay. So, Anurag, great, thanks. 28. You were involved 5 years in farming before pursuing your degree, and then went back to farming. Fine. What do you do? Can you do an MBA? Yes. So again, I've seen a lot of people who have a different career. They didn't go at 18 to college. Okay, for example, they went to the army for a couple of years, or they did something else. They went to travel, they went farming, or worked in a family business for a few years. No problem with that. And then they took the degree. And I've even seen people like 30 who are just completing now their undergraduate degree, but they have 8 years of experience of something. They're just completing now the undergraduate degree, and then they can go straight away to the MBA because they have their work experience. By the way, in the MBA programs, the regular full-time MBA programs, you might see they ask how many years of full-time work experience post your undergraduate degree you have. And for someone like you, that a lot of your experience is before your degree, you just answer it differently. You just, you say, I have 6 years of full-time experience, although it's not exactly post-undergraduate. Okay, specific question. Happy Ram, yes, you're 30, 7 years of experience. No problem at all. Just go for a regular MBA option, okay? You want to do a career shift? Don't worry about that. That's what MBAs are for career shift. Okay, what about executive MBA career opportunities? So again, executive MBAs have career opportunities. The special career services representatives, which their job is to help you find a job. Because remember, it's part of the ranking. Also for executive MBAs, they want you to be happy. They want you to make a lot of money. So there's very good career opportunities. They're less set like the full-time MBA. So the full-time MBA is, let's say, a 2-year MBA. You start in September, and in November, you're ready, go and interview for your summer internship. And then the following October, all the recruiters come to campus. The executive MBA is less set. The classes are smaller. Not everybody is looking for a job. But you can utilize career services and the business school platform to find a job afterwards. Okay, Varun, this is the longest GMAT session I've ever made. GMAT Club, thank you. Great questions here. Work experience of 13 years. I can stop here. You can't do a full-time MBA in a top school. Okay. You can do in a top 50 school, but probably not in a top 10 school. You might want to look at a full-time senior program or in a lower ranked school. Okay, because you sound like Varun, you have a great profile, but you're too old in terms of seniority and years of experience for a Harvard MBA. You're definitely not too old for Foster Gember or for MIT Sloan Fellows. So that's, I think, where you should aim for 1 year dedicated to senior people full program. Abrar, 8 years of experience, fantastic. Risk spread, currently managing Deloitte's risk, amazing. Is a part-time MBA right for you? Well, again, this really depends. Can you pivot your career into consulting without an MBA? If you can, again, you might want the MBA, but you can find like your own job, etc. Yes, maybe continue working and do a part-time MBA. If you want to do a career shift, maybe a location shift, and you're fine taking 1 or 2 years off and obviously investing in yourself and then finding a consulting job, the classic way, then probably a regular full-time MBA is for you. Again, remember, I don't know, a third of graduates go and work in consulting from full-time MBAs, so that might be the best plan for you. I'm in Abhiram's question, 7 years of work experience. We answered this, Abhiram. Definitely go for any top MBA program. All the programs are good for career transformation, so there's no problem there. Anurag, hi, you're 28. We discussed that. You were a farmer. Okay, questions are repeating. Underrepresented industry. Okay, and you have, so I'm in Adele Lau's question, 10 years of experience in an underrepresented industry. However, had switched industries before. Is it a red flag? No, we said that 12 years is a red flag, so 10 is fine. Okay, and you can explain, maybe you switch industries, that's why you're not that senior because you had to do a change, and you have your reasons to doing an MBA, you're fine. I think we're fine. I think we're nearly there. I'm in Raul's question. I haven't seen this question. So thank you, Raul. Sorry that I only got to it now. 9 years of experience, you're 35, working in technology, great. Yes, you said I will go for 1 year MBA, for a regular MBA, and I think you're right. I think you're a bit older, but I think you should go for regular MBA or for full-time senior MBA. You can also look at those, and you can probably apply to both and then see where you get accepted to. Go and take the GMAT and talk to me offline. Okay, I'm at the bottom of my list. Okay, let's see. There's 3 more questions. Okay, learners and educators are asking a question. I love that. I'm 34 and having 10 years of work experience, okay, from Bangladesh. I would like to switch my career. So again, you can go, and especially as you want funding, you can go for full-time MBA, but you need to do it, sooner than later because you're starting to get over work experience. And again, no one said you only have to go to top 2 school. You can also go to a school that's ranked 20 or 30 or 40. And if you get a high GMAT and you have an impressive work experience, you can get into a full-time MBA program in the US with a substantial scholarship. Again, the longer you wait, your chances will get lower for the top 5, 10 schools. 5 years experience, no problem at all. For EMBA, it just depends on the, so 5 years experience is fine. It just depends which EMBA. Some EMBAs will look for 6 years plus. Some EMBAs will look for 2+ years of managerial experience. Some don't care. So I just don't know anything about you. I need to know which industry you work in which EMBA you're aiming for, which territory, who you are, where you come from. So send me a private email and we'll take it from there. The 2-year gap, yeah, that's an issue, but we need to solve it. Okay, we're gonna have to finish. So you keep asking questions. I'm gonna answer a couple more, but I think we're finished. 11, I'm gonna just answer them very, very shortly. 11 years of experience, is it okay for regular MBA? It's on the very, very borderline. So I don't really know what to tell you. If you're applying this year, yes. Next year, starting to be too late. Regarding MS programs, so master programs in Europe, yes, there's lots of master programs in Europe. In fintech, again, sorry, wrong session, contact me separately, or etc. Some master programs don't require a GMAT at all, and they don't have an internal test, they just don't have a test. Okay, so a lot of master programs in the UK, for example, don't require a GRE or GMAT, they just require you to have a good undergraduate degree. So it just depends where you're applying, but again, I can't answer that now. Does my company offer, thank you, free consulting for the first meeting? We are a business and we work for money. I'm sorry. But you can definitely send me an email and I'll try and help you. And we definitely have a first meeting, which we don't charge for. But obviously the work we do with our candidates costs money. I'm sorry, check us out on ARINGO.com. You can see all our fees, etc. Okay, Parul, please guide me about my chances with MIT Sloan, 2 years MBA, Yale, Columbia. I really don't know anything about you, Parul, and this is not a profile assessment. I don't have your CV, GMAT, background. I don't know when you're applying, so I'm just going to wish you good luck. And I can see you then wrote 5 years of banking experience, 2-year gap. Sorry, that's someone else. Again, Parul, contact me separately, send me your CV, and I can try and assess you. Sana, 6 years of experience, Big Four company, great. You want to switch, go for top MBA programs, which the best programs. Okay, I mean you have a good profile. They like Big Fours. All the top MBAs go. The graduates go to consulting, so all good. Thank you, GMAT Club. Yes, this is a long session. Okay, 3 more questions. That's it. No more questions. Okay, we answered the first 5 years banking and 2-year gap. Again, we have to see which program you're going to Pallavi. Okay, so send me a separate email. Learners and educators. I love that name. Many thanks. Yay. Will my 700 GMAT and 10 years of experience help to get funding? Again, it just depends where. So GMAT and years of experience is one factor. Other factors are where you're applying to, who you are, gender, background, what work experience you have, what kind of application you write. Okay, what are your extracurriculum activities? Why MBA? What are your career goals? Again, talk to me separately. Send me your CV and I'll try and help you. Nando, I'm sorry, Nando, if you feel I didn't answer your question, but I just can't go up right now in the scroll. And I think we've answered anyone. Parole, again, I can see you've asked 4 times, as mentioned above. Again, if you send me your CV, I'm offering you a free chances assessment from me. Just send me your CV and I'll answer you offline. And that's it. So we're going to stop this session, only an hour and 3/4. And that was good. Again, I'm just going to summarize very quickly. And I think the summarization is in even this slide, forget the colors. Full-time MBA is usually for candidates with 4 to 6, 7, 8, up to 10 fine years of experience. The average age is 28. If you're 36 with 15 years of experience, it's not just that the school won't want you. Trust me, you won't want the program as well. An MBA is mostly about interaction with your class, beyond the class, creating clubs and working together in the student body. And again, schools, will have an issue with you being too experienced, etc. So then you should probably consider one of the other programs. And then you need to think, do you want to do a full-time program or a part-time program? And again, look at this presentation for the differences between them. And I definitely didn't want to do that. I've really enjoyed this session. And I think I got out of that, so I'm sorry. But you have my contact details, which will be on the screen again in 5 seconds. And you can always contact me again with your CV. And if you need some kind of chances assessment or you're not sure which program you should be applying to, you can always contact me. Here's my email. Check out ARINGO.com. Thank you very much. And see you in our next sessions, MBA for over 50s. No, I'm joking. Thank you.